With this major downgrade of the U.S. economy and the U.S. dollar that has been really taking place since 1971, there's one asset that many people miss out on and they lose. 2008 was an example. 1999, 2000, the dot-com crash was an example. So people not holding on to this asset, they end up losing 65 to up to 80% of their wealth. And I don't want that to be you. Let's talk about it. Great day, another opportunity. Super excited to see another day, and I hope you are as well. You got your gift, you got what you've been asking for, which is life. And remember, where there's life, there's hope. Let's dive into this information, ladies and gentlemen, because there's been a major downgrade to the US dollar and also the US economy. On May the 16th, 2025, Moody's downgraded the US government's credit rating from its top tier AAA status to AA1. This marks the first time all three credit agencies have rated U.S. debt below the highest level. The downgrade was attributed to the nation's growing fiscal deficits and the absence of a clear plan. Now let's go a little bit more into this, but to keep it super simple so an eighth graders can understand it, I want to define Moody's role in this downgrade. So let's ask ChatGPT the importance of Moody and also the importance of us understanding, so an eighth grader could understand it, what this downgrade means. Please share. Act as a professional journalist and someone who has worked with some of the most knowledgeable financial educators in the world, and explain in a short and simple way so a eighth grader can understand what is Moody's role in downgrading the US dollar and how this affects us as U.S. citizens. So as you can see, ChatGPT is actually giving us a breakdown so we can understand it. What is Moody? And why does their downgrade of the U.S. matter? Moody's is a powerful company that gives out credit scores, but not for people. They rate how safe it is to lend money to countries, including the United States. Think of them like a financial referee. When they say a country is very trustworthy, investors feel safe lending money. But if they say, hey, this country might not be so safe anymore, people start to worry. Recently, Moody's downgraded their opinion on the U.S., not saying we're broke, but warning that we're spending too much and not fixing our debt problems. How does this affect you and me? Higher prices. If the government has to pay more to borrow money, they raise taxes or print more dollars. That can make everyday things like groceries or gas more expensive. Higher interest rates. If lenders think the U.S. is riskier, they charge higher interest. That could mean more expensive car loans, credit card bills, or home loans for family. Weaker dollar. A downgrade can make the US dollar less trusted around the world. If the dollar loses value, stuff we buy from other countries costs more, like phones, clothes, or food. In simple terms, Moody's is like a report card for how the US handles money. A lower grade means we might have to pay more for things and work harder to keep our economy strong. And we actually see that happening right now. Now, I hope that briefing gave you a more clearer understanding of Moody's role and this big downgrade. But here's another brief piece of information coming from Investopedia that recognizes to give you a more clarity on why this is important for you and I. Moody's ratings agency downgraded its previously top-notch rating, once upon a time, right, of the U.S. government's creditworthiness on Friday, citing persistent large fiscal deficits that show no signs of slowing. The downgrade, which places the U.S. government one notch below Moody's top AAA status. Once again, repeating this, just want you to understand its importance, because we're all tied to the economy in some form or fashion. 98% of people are reliant on the economy, on the dollar, on their jobs. So I want to get to that 2% who really want to make a change in their lives for themselves and their families. Comes a lawmaker's way a budget that would extend significant tax cuts and boost spending for years. House Republicans were unable to pass a version of the budget that includes those provisions on Friday morning. Now, to add to that, this is also important. Continuing the understanding of Moody's downgrade and how big this is for the U.S. economy and for the economy in our home if we don't have it together. In particular, Moody's continues to warn that successive U.S. administrations and Congress have failed to agree on measures to reverse the trend of large annual fiscal deficits and growing interest costs. In turn, persistent large fiscal deficits will drive the government's debt and interest burden higher. The U.S. fiscal performance is likely to deteriorate relative to its own past and compared to other highly rated sovereigns. The two major credit rating agencies, Standard & Poor's (S&P) and Fitch Ratings, have both already downgraded the nation's rating, S&P in 2011 and Fitch in August 2023. As of May 2025, the U.S. national debt stands at big numbers, 36 trillion, increasing by approximately 1 trillion every 100 days. Interest payments alone are projected to exceed 1 trillion annually, surpassing spending on Medicare and the military. Now, this is super important, ladies and gentlemen, because once again, financial education is the key to thriving in today's change, along with mindset shift. This isn't just a headline, it's a wake-up call. The downgrade affects borrowing costs across the board, from mortgages to credit cards, impacting everyday Americans. How are you feeling today? Are you feeling financially secure? Now, an intelligent thing for you and I to do is always take information, observe it, but take information from those who've been doing it for a super long time. And Mr. Warren Buffett has notably been an investor for a minute. He's one of the top 10 most successful and richest people in the world. So notably, investors like him are shifting their focus overseas, increasing holdings in Japanese trading houses. Blackstone has also raised $10.6 billion for a European real estate fund, indicating a move away from U.S. assets. Now, let's breathe for a moment and let's hear from the horse's mouth.
This is a question from Mark Bonke and Helen Friedrichsen in Rapid City, South Dakota. As the U.S. dollar quickly loses value in relation to other foreign currencies in 2025, is Berkshire Hathaway taking steps to minimize this currency risk and its impact on quarterly and annual earnings? If so, please explain. And I'll just add from Mary Cheng, another shareholder, Berkshire currently borrows in Japanese yen to offset its currency risk and its Japanese stock investments. In the future, will you invest in foreign currency denominated assets unhedged?
Charges, and but it doesn't make any difference. It'll change next month or next year, and obviously we wouldn't want to be owning anything that we thought was in a currency that was really going to hell. And that's the big thing we worry about with the United States currency. I mean, the tendency of a government to want to debase its currency over time there's no system that beats that. You can pick dictators, you can pick representatives, you can do anything. But the people, there will be a push toward weaker currencies. And of course, that is, I mentioned very briefly in the annual report that the fiscal policy is what scares me in the United States, because it's made the way it is. And all the motivations are to doing a lot of things that can cause trouble with money. But that's not limited to the United States. It's all over the world, and some places it gets out of control regularly. As they devalue at rates that are breathtaking, and that's continued. I mean, and people can study economics and you can have all kinds of arrangements, but in the end, if you've got people that control the currency, you can issue paper money, and you will, or you can engage in clipping currencies like they used to do centuries ago. There will always be people. It's the nature of their job.
So once again, Warren Buffett's bold statement, but an individual like him can make statements like that because he's been becoming super wealthier with all of the economic downturns that's been happening throughout decades, century. He's been winning. And all of those who have financial education, I mean, he's no different from you and I. It's all based on the information that you and I have been receiving throughout our life. Once again, Warren Buffett's biggest worry about the US dollar wouldn't want to be owning anything in a currency that was going to hell. So where is the majority of our life tied to? It's tied to the US dollar. Your Social Security is, your retirement, your job, everything. And we'll get into what the importance of diversification means. So if you're going to listen to your financial advisor, with all due respect, is he on that level? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm sharing knowledge with you where you can make your own decisions and stop asking people, what should you do, instead of you plugging into individuals who have the wisdom to really, they're telling you what to do, not directly, but more indirectly. So let's take advice from those who've been in the game, who have the assets, who are winning, and we can have a brighter future, and the future is now. And a subject that I've been touching on that is aligned with what we're discussing today, based on this downgrade. Well, how can I upgrade myself? Well, it's super important to understand who central banks are and what their role is, and why worldwide central banks are buying gold at record levels, with net purchases totaling 244 tons in Q1 2025. This trend reflects a lack of confidence in the US dollar's stability. Oh my gosh, and it should be giving us a flag if we're paying attention on what you and I should be doing now. In this brief article, we see here, super important, gold's demand trends Q1 2025. Central banks bullion bonanza continues in 2025. Well, Demi, who are the central banks? Well, these are the individuals who really control the monetary system. They control all the banks that you and I go to. These individuals are in control. Okay, these are the ones who print cash. They control it. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, we did not have financial education at all. It wasn't talked about in the schools. It wasn't talked about at the dinner table. If you are part of the 2%, meaning the 2% who gain wisdom, gain real information, then you know what I'm talking about. So we need to do what the central banks are doing. Okay? Central bank demand presented here comprises aggregated reported changes as well as an estimate for unreported buying. This differs from our monthly central bank statistics, which consist solely of reported changes. Country level data is based on reported figures available at the time of writing. Revisions may occur as more data is released. Turkey data for December 2024 was delayed at the time of publication. London gold market queues up to borrow central bank gold after big shipments to US, sources say. In Redders, you can read that article, and I'll have the articles in the description below for you to take a dive and brief it for yourself. This was January 2025. German politicians fret over gold reserves held in the U.S. This is in mining.com, March of 2025. Korea's gold reserve is entirely abroad. The bulk, BOK, has no intention of reshoring it. Annual central bank demand for 2024 has been revived up to 1,086 T from 1,045 T as more data becomes available. Now, getting gold and adding it to your portfolio, physical gold now. There's nothing wrong with gold mining stocks, but you have to be a person who wants to learn. You have to study the CEO, you have to study the company and understand what they're doing, understand their track record. So there's nothing wrong with that. But we're talking about the precious metal of itself in your hand, in your possession, as a hedge. We've talked about this several times. I've dived into it, okay, with my previous videos where you can check out. But we must understand that having this protection, that's all gold is. It's not an investing unless you're investing in the company that's doing the mining. It is real money, it's God's money, but it's a hedge against all of the volatilities, inflation, tariffs, all the things that are taking place. And now as we see Moody's downgrade to the U.S. economy, U.S. dollar, is super important today. You don't have to think big bricks, nothing wrong with that, but we're talking about small transaction friendly ways to add to a diversified portfolio of precious metals, physical gold, and also physical silver. Now, flash forwarding, moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, inflation, while reported at 2.3%, doesn't align with many Americans' experiences. Rising costs in essentials like food and housing suggest that the real impact is more significant. And I really feel that you would agree with that. Inflation, they say in the media that it's going down or it's at a level that's sustainable, but in the grocery stores, you don't see that. And the grocery stores are somewhere you need to be getting to fast, ladies and gentlemen, because they're talking about products, foods, other things that we need, essentials, will not be available like we've been spoiled to have throughout the years, throughout the decades. So get to the stores. But you're not feeling that in that carton of eggs. You're not feeling that in that genetically modified milk. You're not feeling that in certain areas as you go to the grocery stores. Things have and will continue to get more expensive. And as we go to get the things that we need, many people are using credit, not as what credit should be, which is for investing, but using credit to survive. Credit card debt has reached a record 1.2 trillion with average interest rates around 20%. This financial strain is leading many to rely on credit for basic necessities, like I just stated. Now, this is super important, and I want to share with you a briefing on this particular subject. In this article here, Bank Rates 2025 Credit Card Debt Report. Americans are dealing with a record amount of credit card debt, 1.2 trillion according to the New York Fed, and the average credit card rate is around 20% according to our bank rate data. That hasn't fallen much from a record set last summer. For millions of Americans' households, credit card debt represents their highest cost debt by a wide margin. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, always remember, when I'm bringing information, I'm never putting anyone down. It's all about how we've been conditioned. These are the times we're in. And I always share with you, life is what we make it based on information we received, information we reject, and self-discipline. Talking to myself. So we're just living our life based on what we've been taught and what we haven't been taught and what we've really designed ourselves to be based on those two things. So it's super important today, right now, after watching this video, to get started. But I know for the majority, you need support, you need help, you need a trustworthy system that you can learn from, and then it'll show you how to be in control of your own life and not be dependent on a system that has fallen, actually. Not falling, has already fallen. And in these times, times like these, It's crucial to be informed and proactive. Consider diversifying your investments, diversifying your portfolio. You can't be diversified in a basket of stocks, funds, mutual funds, and ETFs in Wall Street and you have no control. You got to diversify. Reducing high interest debt and staying updated on economic developments. Don't be afraid of this. Don't be afraid. Don't allow yourself to let fear hold you back. Understanding these shifts can help you navigate the financial landscape, and more effectively, you can stay informed, stay prepared, and take control of your financial future. Now, we all know that you need support. So I share with you a system that I've spoken of before called SIMPLE, which just means shift, increase, multiply, protect, and leverage everything. We want to show you how you can reduce your taxes day one and use the money back as you work your job. The money that you're paying in taxes, legally reduce that immediately. And in that same few weeks, months, start to have that money coming back into your household where you can use it to pay down debts. You can use it to prepare. You can use it to diversify, invest. Then we want to share with you how you can have a blueprint for your credit and get the debt down, get the credit score up so we can learn to use credit for investing, which is the proper way of using it to gain points and things that will end up paying for your enjoyments and your entertainment, if that's what you're doing. So we want to give you a blueprint, a millionaire blueprint, okay, for you sitting back and letting the professionals push the letters for you while you sit back and reap the benefits. We want to share with you how you can minimize your overhead with gas, electric, cable, and all these other things that you're paying for. We can show you how to get these things negotiated while we do the work for you. We want to share with you how you can be your own banker and have what we call a DCA. This just means diversified cash flow account. Money sitting in the bank is doing nothing. Any small interest that you get on it, inflation will chew that up like Pac-Man. You remember Pac-Man, right? So we want to share with you how you can use your whole life policy and have it compounding and paying you, not wait until you die to pass it on, which is a great thing. You must have that, but to use it right now out of the stock market, because it is going to crash. It's overdue, and it's going to wipe out the majority of people who are buying, hoping, and praying. And hoping is not a strategy. Yeah, pray, most definitely. Pray to God to help lead you into the right information and help you change the mindset that you've had for decades. It's time to shift over into a rich mindset, into a wealthy mindset, because we don't have a lot of time. The future is now. We want to share with you how you can have precious metals in your hand, even get funded so you can learn how to invest, and we teach you and you make decisions on your own, not asking someone, what should you do, but asking someone, how do I do this? So we want to share with you all of these things and more, where you can have the number one economy taken care of, which is the economy you live in your roof, because the rich get richer and the poor middle class get hurt based on the lack of knowledge. So remember to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below of what you agree with and what you disagree with. I'm here to answer questions, and I appreciate your comment and your time. So as always, take care, take heed, stay safe, and remember, life is what we make it, based on the information we receive, the information we reject, and self-discipline. You all have a great day.